Sometimes we hear this idea from some devotees. The Guru is always a pure devotee of the highest caliber, which sometimes we call an Uttama-Bhagavata. Or sometimes the Guru is always, sometimes the Guru is always Nitya-Siddha, or an eternal liberated associate of Bhagavan who descends from the spiritual world to deliver us, something like that. But interestingly enough, this is not a notion that, at least to my knowledge, this is not mentioned anywhere in Shastra, that the Guru is always Uttama-Bhagavata, always Nitya-Siddha. So I think it's important to also think about why we hear sometimes people saying that, and what takes some devotees to believe that and emphasize that as a must. What's behind that emphasis, that absolute claim, so to say? Because again, in Shastra, the main attributes of the Guru, apart from having knowledge of Shastra, is in terms of inner realization. The Gita, the Bhagavad, and the Upanishad will say, Guru Tattva-darshin, Brahmanishtam, Sabde Parichanishnatam, Brahmani Upasamasrayam. He's a seer of truth. He's firmly situated in the absolute. He has his senses under control, and he's drenched into spiritual realization. But it's not saying he has to be an Uttama-Bhagavata or Nitya-Siddha or something. So let's connect. This is a form of spiritual bypassing. Like you try to claim Guru has always to be like that, and probably you're doing that so you don't have to do your part, because your Guru is Nitya-Siddha and Uttama-Bhagavata, which doesn't mean that you are that you are on that level. So again, many of us, without being aware of that, so I'm not demonizing anyone, condemning anyone, just analyzing some possible situations that I'm not necessarily free from them. But many of us sometimes still have the need to idolize. You say idolize on some level or another. It's not black and white, because this idolatry gives us sometimes this security that my Guru is a pure devotee. And I understand you need some security. You need to feel I'm in safe ground. Or sometimes it gives a sense of control. Like, I know what's going on. He's this, I know who he is, who she is, his identity, his level of situation. And maybe that person is all that and more, but you are using those terms for nourish your own lack of faith, lack of security, whatever. Sometimes it may be just our own self-imposed belief, or sometimes a false ego extending, like if my Guru is the best, by extension I am the best. No, of course I will never start the second part of the sentence, but that's the implicated meaning. So we may be resorting to utilitarianism even in relation to the Guru. In relation to everything, you use everything for your own purposes, including Guru. He has to be the best, he has to be the shiniest, whatever. Whatever. Each case will express, this principle will express differently. And many times, wanting to have the most perfect and highest Guru on planet Earth, again, sometimes has more to do with a pattern in ourselves, that a real, genuine need for shelter. He has to be perfect, he has to be ideal, so I don't have to deal with any suffering, anxiety, and problem, because he's perfect and ideal. So I don't have to enter into any complexity. I don't have to integrate any complexity. And of course, we are not promoting here complexity and suffering for its own sake. We are not advocating masochism. But there has to be this willingness from the part of the disciple to deal with complexity and difficulty, including in relationship with the Guru. Because if not, we may incur in this form of spiritual bypassing, and trying to use an over-idealized idea and exploiting that person in that way. Like I project, you have to be this, you are this, and the person may be that or may not be that, but you are just projecting whatever you want, whatever you need, and that way using the person to satisfy whatever your needs, your ego, or to evade some situations that you need to deal with that you have not fully resolved, but you try to solve them superficially by the idea of my Guru is the highest, so I'm perfectly situated, and that may not be the case.